Does one talk about it at a book launch party because I've never had one before. Apparently there are two schools of thought for book launch parties. One is that I could read a bunch of stuff from the book. Or the other one is we could really just celebrate that I have so many wonderful people in my life that have come to be supportive of me and really help me celebrate something that I've been working hard on. So we're going to lean more in that direction, okay? Those of you that know me know I'd rather party than be serious. First of all, I want to say that I had a few years in my life where I was helping people buy and sell their beautiful homes, and I wasn't necessarily as happy in my home as I am now with the beautiful man that I share my home with, David. Thank you. And David is really the one that pushed me and encouraged me and forced me to write this book. The reason that I feel so passionate about selling real estate is really because of my background as a psychotherapist. And the handful of you in the room who have similar backgrounds, this will probably be more intuitive than for some of you that don't. But, you know, people always list the most stressful things in life: getting married, getting divorced, getting a new job, you know, having children, or buying and selling a home. And when you think about it, if you're buying or selling a home, it's almost always because of one of those other reasons. So I like to say there's always a dual diagnosis, right? There's always two things going on. So I sort of look at this from a short-term crisis intervention psychotherapy mindset. What I have found, and the reason that I take what I do so seriously, is that it's usually the most important thing going on in somebody's life. And so they feel it. They feel it in their fingers, in their blood, in their stress. It keeps people up at night. I walked out of a listing appointment for about the 12th time in a 2-week period, and another seller said to me, you know, I don't have to give it away. You know, people have this innate fear about their biggest financial purchase, of course, and because it's stressful, because oftentimes in a relationship where there's a husband and wife, they're not necessarily on the same page. There are all sorts of reasons for people that make it difficult to get started, that I really wanted to outline some of those things to help people feel a little bit more in control of the situation, a little bit more in control of their emotions, the stress that it puts on themselves, their marriages, oftentimes their children. You know, many of you have heard the term normalizing things, and so often for people, if you can normalize the process before they go through it, when they walk in the door and want to strangle their husband or their wife or their spouse for not making the bed when there was a showing at 4 o'clock, it can really kind of help calm people's nerves. The other thing that I really feel is that I can tell you so many stories about people who need to sell their home, but they are very stuck for a lot of reasons. It's often an emotional attachment to a house. Maybe that house represented something or someone that's not in their life anymore. That can make it very hard to get started. Oftentimes there's 40 years worth of belongings in a house, and people have a difficult time either parting with them, whether there's a hoarding diagnosis in the background or not. It's difficult to get rid of stuff. We all know that. People sometimes live in homes that are much bigger and more expensive than they need for years because they can't figure out how to get started with things like that. A story comes to mind recently. A friend of mine tapped me on the shoulder at a soccer game and said, hey, would you mind getting together with me for coffee? And I said, sure. She said, Shannon, my mother lives out of state, and she's been diagnosed with Parkinson's recently. She's really not in very good health. She said, the good news is we have long-term care insurance. The bad news is we can't utilize the long-term care insurance until we sell the home. We can't sell the home until we have a place to put her. We can't even do what we need to do to prepare the home for sale. So oftentimes people live with these jumbled messes in their head. And what this profession for me really is about is helping people untangle those things so that they can move forward and transition to their life to the next stage, which is where they want to be and where their goals take them. So for me, it was really a nice process to write this down. I've had people who I've given the book to recently when I've been at their house talking to them about listing their home, and I've gotten really terrific feedback. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke to a couple who are moving not because they want to, but because they've had some financial changes, and we spoke for about an hour. The next day at around 4 o'clock, she called me in tears. She said, Shannon, I read every word of that book. I'm sorry you didn't give it to me before you were here because I would have saved you a lot of time. She said, literally everything in your book were the things that I was worrying about. And so it felt really good to me that I was able to connect with her on ways that were helpful. Because once we begin to identify the things that keep people stuck, that's usually when you can get unstuck and move forward. Also, of course, people always have a lot of anxiety about price. How am I going to figure out how to price the home? People are very afraid they're going to give it away. Oftentimes people feel when they're selling, they're giving it away, and of course they're buying on the other side, and we all know they're overpaying on that one. Very stressful. So one thing I just want to note is that I have created what I call the Home Fit Scorecard. There's some laying around. You can find them on my website, etc. But the average person moves once every 10 years. So probably 1 out of every 10 of you might be thinking that you need to move. Or maybe you're not sure. This scorecard can kind of help you figure out, you know, how seriously should I really be taking this next move. The last thing I want to do, and this one's really important because otherwise McCall will yell at me. If everybody could please take out their phone and log on to Facebook, and please like my Facebook page, Shannon Aronson Group. For everybody who likes my page, I will be, I have a drawing for a $50 Moonshine gift certificate. So who doesn't want that? Come back to this fabulous place and grab some food on another evening. And I just want to thank everybody who helped me with the book. I know thank yous are boring, Carrie, I get it, but there are so many people, I can't even begin to tell you how hard Maria, my teammate, has worked to help me with this. Joe Varnish has done so much to help me get the word out. My whole team has been so supportive and helpful. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for supporting me. Please have a good time. Stay, eat, drink, have fun, and again, many thanks.